very articulate and passionate. Yeah, those are great qualities. Tonight's debate is really special to me for another reason. I did my very first debate as an atheist in February of 1985. How many years ago was that? 20-some years ago. And I've been keeping track of them. Tonight is my 100th public debate. Which next week in La Crosse, and then the following week at Oxford. Michael Shermer and I will be going up against Peter Hitchens and the mathematician Lennox. Yeah, we'll be going up against them at Oxford Uni, so that'll be fun. The fact that we are indeed machines does not diminish humanity. It elevates machines, is what it does. Why is that a pejorative, to say that we are machines? I think when you use the word machine, you picture a little thing like a clock moving, right? And so that, oh, that's simple. It's not like our human brains. We are machines, and what's wrong with that? We're functioning. We have brains that function. You can't deny that our brains function, and when they malfunction, our consciousness changes. We all know about Phineas Gage and the frontal lobe and all that, how his whole personality changed when those things happened. Today, I was listening to Ella Fitzgerald on my iPad at the hotel room, listening to the songs, some Cole Porter songs. And then I thought, oh, I need to get directions to come to this event. So I went to Kent and then I came here. So I switched over to the map program, and I was looking at the map to how to get directions down to Akron and down to Kent. How did the computer do that? Here are these little circuits and little electrical circuits. There's a current going through, and there's a change in the current which makes the bits be one state or another. And that little bit didn't know that it was Ella Fitzgerald I was listening to. That little bit doesn't know anything about music. But suddenly that very same bit switched from being musically conscious to drawing a map. How do you explain that? How can a machine with just these circuitry within it, how can it switch from one thing to another? Isn't it all the same frequency in the computer? Isn't it all the same? Don't you see how it's the arrangement? It's the functioning arrangement of those lower level circuits that make the computer work, that make our brains work. It's not that there's a thing called red in our brains. I like TOE as an acronym, theory of everything, because we're going toe to toe tonight, aren't we? So, Dewey proffered one argument for the existence of a God, which he said was evidence. Really, it's an argument, it's not evidence. I wish you had elaborated more on your personal experience of having a contact with this mind out there. I wish you had told us more about how that works, how it interfaces. Is it a physical voice that you hear? Do you, what is it? I mean, how do you know that in your brain that you are in contact with this other brain out there, as you told us you are? Is God a baritone, or is he a tenor, or what? Is he, you know what I mean? I wish you had done more of that. That would have been evidence we could talk about. Something that we could talk about how the brain somehow interfaces with a physical brain somehow interfaces with a non-physical world. Since you are a dualist, in your mind there has to be this other world out there that your physical brain interacts with. Those of us who are not dualists, and by the way, there are a few atheists who are dualists, who don't think there's a God. Yeah, I know. They don't think it necessarily proves there's a God. You can have Platonic dualism and not necessarily get to a God from there. Your argument is to the best explanation, is what you told us, not that you have direct evidence for this non-physical brain or mind or whatever it is out there. But what you have is a belief. You've taken a step beyond your explanation to the best explanation, argument to the best explanation, and you're believing in this being. Even the Bible says nobody knows there's a God. No believer in this room knows there's a God. That's what faith is. Faith is asserting a belief in something that you don't know to be true. If you knew it to be true, you wouldn't need faith. Even the Bible says, he who comes to God must believe that he is. You don't know. So faith and belief, I used to believe, it felt great. It was wonderful to have this belief. Belief can give you these feelings of the sublime. It can give you a feeling of a hope. It can give you a feeling of connection to the community. It can give you a feeling of purpose and specialness in the world. Belief is a really amazing thing, and it happens in all religions. But belief is not knowledge. People believe all sorts of things. They might believe that bananas are purple, all right? But belief is not knowledge. If we're asking for knowledge, we need evidence. During my opening statement, I gave arguments, very few that Dewey actually addressed. He did talk about the problem of evil, which I'm glad we got to that a little bit. But my free will argument for the non-existence of God, the argument that God has defined a personal being who knows the future cannot possibly exist logically. I wish he had grappled with that. I think I grappled with all of his points. Whether you think I did a good job or not is a different matter. If the only way you can accept an assertion is by faith, then you're admitting that that assertion cannot be accepted on its own merits. You're admitting a kind of agnosticism. Faith in God is a kind of agnosticism, like Blaise Pascal said. Because if you had knowledge, you wouldn't need faith. Faith is really a cop-out. With faith, anything can be true. You can just plug in whatever you want. It could be Thor. It could be Zeus. It could be Frigg. It could be Yahweh. It could be anything you want to plug into that gap. Scientists don't gather together every Sunday morning in their science churches and hold hands and bow their heads in a circle and sing, "Yes, I know the Higgs boson is real. Yes, I will be strong. I will have faith. No one will convince me that the Higgs boson is not real. I know that all matter must have mass. Therefore, in my heart, let's go out and share it with the world." I mean, what if they did that every week, right? You'd think they were pretty insecure on the concept. But that's what we find in religious faith. People bolstering your faith. Have faith. Be strong. Go out against the evil secular world and have faith in your God. But faith is not knowledge. Faith is a placeholder. Atheists might have faith sometimes, although we wouldn't say that we have certainty. Religious faith gives certainty. I might have some confidence in the character of my dad, for example. I think he's a good guy. I don't think he's a mass murderer. I might be wrong, but I know enough about my dad to say I'm going to go with it, that he's a good guy, right? That's not faith. That's a reasonable description of my dad based upon past experiences, and I'd be happy to be, I'm not happy, but I'd be willing to be proved wrong, that maybe there's something I don't know. But religious faith, on the other hand, makes no allowances for that. Religious faith is absolute. And so that's what's wrong with religious faith. Knowledge can't be gained through faith. Faith can make you feel great. If you need it, fine. Keep it. If you need your faith in God to somehow make your life have some kind of meaning, we atheists are no threat to you. Go to church. Believe. Pray. Pray to your God. We're not barging into church and trying to drag you out of your pews and how can you be so stupid? We're not doing that. This is a free country. Believe what you like. Stand on your head and pray to Mother Goose. We don't care. But Jesus in the Bible, and here's an atheist quoting the Bible again, and I'll end with this. He did say some good things. Test all things, prove all things, hold fast to that which is good. That's what I did. And it turned out that Christianity is not one of those things to hold fast that is good. Test it. But one of the things he said, if he existed, and he may have, although there's some doubt about it, Jesus said in Matthew 9, "They who are healthy don't go to the doctor." It's only people who are sick who go to the doctor, right? Pretty obvious. He said, "I have come for those who are sick." Most belief systems, most like Christianity and Islam and Judaism, most theistic systems assume that there's something sick about our species. There's something wrong with us that needs fixing. So those of us who are outside that circle, we don't think there's such a thing as sin. Sin just means hamartia, means missing the mark of God. Sin is a religious concept, and salvation is a phony solution to a phony problem. Like a doctor who might run around cutting you with a knife in order to sell you a Band-Aid. Say, hey, see, you have problems. Most of us atheists, although we are not Pollyannas, we are optimistic about human nature. We don't view that there's something wrong with us. We think Jesus might have been talking about us if he indeed said those things. When he said, "They who are healthy don't need the doctor." Thank you. We don't need the doctor. We don't need the faith. We're getting through life with our problems just fine. I think, and I said this at the World Religions Conference in Canada a couple of years ago, where we had to explain our respective positions about what does salvation mean. And I said to an atheist would say, if salvation is the cure, then atheism is the prevention. Thanks.
Well, we thank you all for coming tonight. Just take a moment to walk by our table. You can pick up anything for free. We've got pins and a lot of great pamphlets about information. Be sure to be signed up with our email list so you can hear about more great events